2017 budget and the economic growth plan. The National Assembly passed the 2017 appropriation bill. Actually, it has been returned to the presidency from what we hear. And we are aware that the figure went up by about 2 billion?
No, over 2 billion. About 2.7 billion.
Yeah, about
from
2.7, yes.
7.29 to 7.44.
Now, according to the report, 434 billion was appropriated for statutory transfers to the National Judicial Council. The Niger Delta Development Commission, 64.02 billion. Universal Basic Education, 95.2 billion. National Assembly, 125 billion. Public Complaints Commission, 4 billion. INEC, 45 billion. And National Human Rights Commission, 1.2 billion. The 7 establishments are to get allocations on first line charge. However, this is very interesting. Spending details of these offices are yet to be made public. I think I heard a deadline given for them to submit their budgets. I'm not so sure about that. Now, to help us look at this budget in comparison to what the economic growth plan has in store, it's my pleasure to welcome to the studio in Lagos Mr. Joe-Fagunro.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes.
He's an economist, and joining us from our studio in Abuja, we have the chairman.
No, he's not. He joins us via Skype. He's not in the studio.
He joins us via Skype. Mr. Kyari, good morning.
Good morning.
And I'd like to start with you, if I may. Would you just juxtapose the budget and the economic growth plan? And do you see this budget achieving what that plan is set out to achieve?
It's quite interesting. When one looks at the ERGP, we are looking at a plan that has a medium-term outlook. And by that I mean we're looking at a plan that is 4-5 years out. Now, of course, when you make a plan for 4-5 years, you have to deal with the immediate, which is what the 2017 budget is all about. And I wish that the ERGP plan was out before the budget planning had been done. Unfortunately, the budget for 2017 was more or less done and proposed towards the end of 2016. At that time, I believe the ERGP was still on the drawing board. Now, having said that, one looks at the budget and deconstructs it and see if you can achieve some of those objectives that were outlined by the ERGP. The principles behind the ERGP were sound in that there are 3 or 4 broad principles. I believe one of them had to do with tackling constraints for growth. And that statement has in it quite a number of things. Power is a constraint to growing the economy or energy. Getting fuel for somebody to go from point A to B would be a constraint to growth. But those are the ones that everybody thinks about. But the fundamental one, which actually 2 or 3 days ago the acting president had signed executive orders regarding those, are the constraints that would come about by virtue of certain bureaucratic things. Like at the airport when you come in, I don't understand why 2 people have to handle my passport before I come into the country. In all other places, it's only one person that handles it. And I think in the executive order there had been clear directives. And I would even venture to say that there was a remark made by the acting president to permanent secretaries, heads of MDAs, and the ministers that any public servant that is an obstacle for any person or any entity looking for approval or license is literally fighting the economy of Nigeria. So that person would be an anti-economic growth person, so to speak. So I think when you combine the actions that the government is taking fairly recently and the ERGP plan, you would begin to breathe a sigh of relief that we are taking all the necessary steps towards having a market that has less and less unfriendly, business unfriendly regulations.
Okay, Mr. Kyari, Mr. Kyari, if you don't mind, we'll just take a moment. When we'll come back, we'll continue the conversation. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Mr. Kyari, you were talking about the ERGP and the budget. But let me ask this question before we come to Mr. Dagunro. How would you, by what parameters would you judge the ERGP and the 2017 budget? Is it by their title or by the content? You're laughing.
I believe the content is the driving force. Now, how you go about executing a long-term, even in corporates, you can set up a long-term vision or a long-term plan. The beauty of that is that you try and navigate what is happening right now. Now, there are areas of concerns in the current budget, a lot of areas of concern. For example, you look at the debt servicing number.
Mr. Kyari, if you can hear me, we're having a technical issue from your end. So someone will talk to you briefly, but let's go to Mr. Dagunro while you sort that out. Mr. Dagunro, we'll get back to Mr. Kyari. So let me put that question to you. By what parameters would you judge the ERGP and the budget, the title or the content?
Well, like what Kyari was trying to say, first of all, I think if you look at the content, it has been a regular thing we are used to. And many people, we say that, okay, this content is not new to us, so we can never use that, because we will never come to the realization whereby we're working with a budget that we ever lead to a surplus budget in the interim. And if you look at it, we'll be working with a deficit budget. But don't forget, it's an expansionary economy. The budget that we're working as an expansionary thing. And the deficit has always been there, and we'll always have deficit for the next few years to come. Then if you look at the content at the same time, there's still argument about the content. Who tinkers with what? The assembly, the senators, they just woke up and said, okay, this must go to this part, increasing it and decreasing it, and we know what are the reasons, what are the parameters for changing the figures that was being presented. That has been argued as well. But if you look at what Kyari was saying regarding this economic recovery growth plan, it's a good thing and it's a long-term thing. Thank God for that. But then if you look at executive power, the way it has been issued, I think we might need to have more executive powers being issued on some of these things in Nigeria. Because if you look at it critically, now we can see that a company can be registered in Nigeria within 48 hours. It's possible. Why was it that it wasn't possible to do that before? Why should anybody wait for about a week or two to get a visa to come to this country? What is even our foreign policy?
A week, did you say? Well, sometimes it takes months.
Okay, so why should that be? If you go to Kenya, you can just get your visa right at the airport there within seconds and just pay your $50 or whatever. If you go to Seychelles, if you go to, even there's around the